Had a redhead model today, but alas I couldn't find one at such short notice, so it's gonna have to be on me. I will adapt it slightly to work on my skin tone, etc., but it's kind of using a couple of the products I used on Sophie on the day to create the look, and then a couple of additional pieces as well. So I hope you guys like the look. So the great thing about this look is it's one of those looks that kind of can be adapted for every occasion as well, whether that's quite casual or going out. It's kind of like a universally flattering makeup look. So the first thing I'm going to start with, which I actually didn't use on Sophie because it wasn't out when I worked with her, is the Morning Aurora, the VB collection with Estee Lauder. So I'm going to use this. I did use a primer on Sophie. I can't remember, it could have been the Becca Backlighting Primer, but I've actually run out of that at the minute. So I'm just going to apply some luminosity underneath. This will act as a nice base as well for foundation. So for foundation, I'm actually going to go for one that I've been using quite a lot at the minute. It is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Cushion Stick. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't tend to use the stick from the stick, if that makes sense. I tend to kind of dot it on and then either blend my fingers or a little bit with a sponge and a little bit with a brush. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of this around the corner of my skin. Now, it goes without saying, Sophie is a lot paler than I am, and that's one of the features I really wanted to play up when I worked with her. So obviously I don't have super pale skin. I am light skin tone but not super pale, so I'm going to make this again adapt to me. But for her I did use I think the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation in one that suited her lovely kind of porcelain skin tone. So I've not used much foundation. Again, the look was sort of light on the base and more about luminosity. So I'm literally going to do the smallest amount of foundation possible. Just going to add a tiny bit more coverage where I need it, which at the minute for me is just around my nose area and kind of around my chin. And I'm just buffing that in with as well as a face brush. So that's foundation on, and next I'm going to go onto a brow pencil I've been really enjoying by Kiko. This is the Precision Eyebrow Pencil in shade 4. So it has kind of like a plastic spoolie, which I'm still not sure if I love it. Definitely don't dislike it because it does work quite well, but for Sophie's brow, she had a really lovely long brow. I just kind of elongated it a bit and just lifted the arch slightly. So again, because I'm doing it on me, I'm going to make sure it still flatters my face shape. But I am just going to elongate it slightly and just lift my arch a little bit more at the top. And then I'm just adding feathery strokes at the front of the brow. So I'm just going to quickly prime my eyelids with the Urban Decay Shadow Potion, eyeshadow primer potion. And I've got quite back into this recently again, actually. Fine, you do have to give it a little bit of time to set though, so I wouldn't kind of put it on and go straight in with your shadow, as it is quite a creamy formula, but once it sets, it's really good. So I'm going to come back to concealer, but I'm going to go on to eyes, and for eyes I'm going to use this gorgeous quad which is called Tease Rivoli, which is by Chanel, and this is what I used on Sophie on the day as well, mixed with a couple of other eyeshadows, but this was kind of the base of what I used. So I'm going to start with this kind of mid-tone grey and mixing the lighter shade as well in, and I'm going to do a wash of that all over the eye. So I'm just going to take a 203 Real Techniques brush, which I'm loving this brush. It's very similar to the MAC, which one is it? The 217. So I'm just going to start moving to a closer up mirror for one. And I find this is sort of just a nice mixing these two shades together. Just gives the eye a little bit of something, a bit of something more than just a natural skin tone. But also because it's very slightly kind of, it's got like a pearl finish to it, it just lifts the eyelid slightly. So it's a really pretty all over lid colour. So I'm just applying that, taking it past the socket. So hopefully you can see already, it just gives a bit of natural shadow, but I am mixing in the lightest colour and the second lightest together. So I'm using the two shades. And I'm actually going to take that towards the brow, so a little bit higher. Not so much that it's kind of like a definite highlight under the brow, but just taking that a little bit higher. And then I'm taking the second lighter shade and going underneath the lash line with that. So again, I'm not being kind of too perfect, just going under. So that's your first layer, and then you're going to go into the crease. What I did on Sophie was, again, go in now just using the second lightest shade on its own, and I just used that to intensify the socket, so it just acted kind of like a natural contour. So I'm just going to take that through my crease. And what's nice about this is it's like a kind of pewtery grey brown. It's not super, super warm and it's not super, super cool. So it's just really nice for getting those kind of natural contours into the eye. So I'm going to take that into here. And especially kind of on the outer third. And I didn't really take it into the lid, I just kept it sort of like a nice contour into the eye. And then just taking a fluffy blending brush, I'm just going to go over that blend just to make sure there's no edges. It should be nice and soft. So now going in with the darkest colour, I'm just going to run that along the bottom lash line just to give a little bit of definition to the lash line. And again, because they're very subtle, these colours, you can use them wet as well with the Chanel shadows, but it's just going to give a little bit of natural softness to the lash line. And I'm almost like winging that shadow out a little bit, but very, very softly. And also with that darker shadow, I'm going to take a little bit under the outer third on the bottom lash line. So just that it gives a natural bit of shadow. And don't forget, we're going to tidy up all this anyway with our concealer in a minute, which again, if you don't have a steady hand, just makes it a really easy way to cheat the look. So even if you get to this point and you feel like it doesn't look quite how you want it to look, don't worry, concealer is literally your best friend. So just a nice bit of definition into the roots of the lashes. And then you can go back to a softer, more blendy one. Just make sure that's nice and soft. So from this point, we now need a kohl, and I'm going to use the Lancome Le Crayon Kohl in Noir. You can use any kohl you want. You could even use a dark grey or a navy, looks really nice with this. But I'm just going to smush, my favourite word ever, this into the roots of the lashes. So I'm just going along the lash line. And you want this so it's not, you almost want a kohl that's not crazy intense black. So this one's quite a good one because it's not too crazy blendable, but I'm just doing little kind of dots in the roots of the lash. But I do want to take this all the way along the lash line. And then you want to go back to the smudger brush again and just smudge that into the eyeshadow that we did earlier. So it becomes a very, very soft line. So now that that's done, before we go any further, we're going to have a little tidy up and we're going to go to concealer. Now I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury Retoucher. I wear the shade, this one is Fair, number 2. And I'm just going to make under the eye area really nice and clean now so you can see the difference with the rest of the look. So I'm going to use this around the nose area as well where I have a little bit of redness. And let's just have a little tidy up. So remember I was saying earlier as well that if you kind of just pull down, this is where you can literally cheat like the perfect eye shape. So if you feel like blending really scares you or you find it really stressful, just use your concealer. See what I've done? I've just kind of scooped it upwards and it literally just cheats the shape. So you can see it has still pulled the eye out. There's like the slightest bit of winged shape, but I've just literally done all the hard work with my concealer, so it just cheats it. And then you can always use a little bit of what's left on the brush just to soften that line so you don't have kind of like a definite line where the concealer starts and ends. Now I want to set with some powder, and I'm loving this one at the minute, guys. It is the Urban Decay De-Slick Mattifying Powder. It's one of those kind of like white tone powders, so it goes invisible on any skin tone, and I really, really like it. So I'm just going to use a Zoeva Luxe Sheer Cheek, and I'm just going to add a little bit of powder because there definitely was kind of luminosity within the skin I did for Sophie, but it was kind of like a more minimal feel. So I'm just going to use that more to kind of set under my eyes. Now for mascara, I have the Rimmel Scandaleyes Reloaded, which has a nice kind of tapered end brush, but it gives a nice bit of volume. So I'm going to do my bottom lashes first, and I did do top and bottom on Sophie, so let's do a little bit of this. So you could totally add individual lashes to this look as well, or again like a nice false strip lash for evening if you're going out. But I'm just going to add some good coats of mascara because that's all I did on Sophie on the day. So mascara top and bottom on the lashes, and then all I'm going to do again is take that Lancome pencil that I used earlier and just make sure I go into the tight line as well, just so there's no skin showing now that I've curled the lashes. Next, I'm going to do lips, and I'm going to use my Nude Lip Definer by Burberry because I did create kind of like a pinky toned, not quite nude lip, it was like a Her Lips But Better colour on Sophie, so that's why I've taken a bit of the red out of my lips. And then for lips, I actually use this colour by Urban Decay, and this is Naked lipstick. So one of these ones, and it's a really pretty, it's not matte and it's not creamy, it's somewhere in between, like a satin finish. But I just use this colour, just kind of blotted on really gently. And then I did add a bit of blush because I felt like, again, she had that gorgeous kind of porcelain ivory skin. So I just wanted to look like how she would look naturally blushing. So I have this blush by Elizabeth Arden, which is gorgeous. This is the Radiance blush in Terrose. Really beautiful kind of natural blush colour. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this on a Zoeva powder brush, just quite a big brush actually, so it has quite a natural finish. And I'm just going to take a little bit of that kind of onto the cheeks. So you can see this really is one of those makeups, guys, that, you know, you can play it up, play it down, you know, you could even wear a version of it for work. It's quite a universally